welcome to the Cedar Arrows podcast. My name is Rebecca, and this is my channel where I enjoy talking about homesteading and homemaking and all of the things I love, although this is mostly knitting. I am so thrilled that you are here with me today. I am glad to be back. I'm feeling a little bit rusty, having to get used to talking to a camera again because it has been a long time since I recorded last. I think probably February. I'm not sure. Today is July 20 something, the 26th. And it's just been a crazy few months. So I can't even tell you how many times I have planned ahead and picked out a day to sit down and record, and how many times I have tried and it's just not materialized. But I was determined to make it happen today. So I'm feeling a little rusty. You may have to bear with me as I figure this all out again, but we're gonna give it our best shot. I'm not even really sure where to pick up with things like finished objects and whips that I had last time. I didn't even go back and look. I didn't take the time to look at my last episode and see what I was working on then, and just pull out all the finished objects that I've finished since then. It just wasn't really feasible. So instead of trying to pick up where I left off, I figured I would pick up where I am now and show you some things that I have been working on recently and my current whips. Spoiler alert, it's mostly socks right now. But maybe someday I can fill in the gaps a little bit if I think of something to show you that I haven't shown you yet, but I just figured the best thing would be to pick up where I am now, and we'll talk about the things going on right now. Oh yeah. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as HappyHomemaker05. And my channel here is Cedar Arrows because that is the name of our homestead. My husband and I have 6 children, and we live on a small homestead in Alabama. And I guess that's all you have to know about me right this minute. If I remember later that I have left something out, I'll just say it then. Anyway, so let's get started. The first finished object that I want to show you today, I'm pretty sure you have seen this already as a whip. I hadn't finished them yet last time. But these are socks for my husband. I always joke about he really likes a long leg. I do this leg of his socks 10 inches, but he has nice small feet for a man, so it works out okay. But he is one of the most knit-worthy people, and he loves his socks. And I asked him recently, when I saw his sock drawer that's getting pretty full, I asked him, is there ever going to be a time when I need to just stop making the socks? Are you getting tired of the socks being, like an every birthday, every Christmas kind of thing? And he's like, I'm not at that point yet. I don't think I'll get there. So he does still have a little bit of room in that drawer, and he wears all the socks I make him. So that makes me happy. But this particular colorway is called Midnight Sun. It was dyed by Stephanie of Alaska Venture Co., AK Venture Co. on Instagram. When we went to Alaska last fall for a wedding, before we left, I ordered 3 colorways from Stephanie because I wanted to work on some kind of Alaskan themed project on our trip. And I knit a pair of socks for him and a cowl for me with some of those the other colorways. And then I had this one left. So I didn't work on this at all on our trip, but it's still an Alaska themed project that, reminds us of that amazing trip. So I think these were his Father's Day gift. They were part of Father's Day for him this year. And he has worn them a lot, gotten lots of comments from the guys at church, so that was a win. My next finished object is another pair of socks for him. These were for our anniversary. I always give him a pair of socks at least for birthday and Christmas, but often also Father's Day and our anniversary, which are kind of the same time of year. And this was a 3x1 rib for the leg and the top of the foot. This colorway is called Lion Wool from Desert Vista Dye Works. I did her year-long sock knit along a couple of years. I'm not doing it this year because I was just not in the mood for socks when January rolled around. But this was one of the colorways that I won from her that she gave me when I had completed, I think it was doing 6 consecutive months of socks. You could pick out a colorway, something like that. Anyway, this one's from her. And I love these colors, but I also knew that he would love these colors. So I've had them in my stash, the yarn in my stash for a while. And I really love the way they knit up. It's funny because I joke about how I can knit on gifts for about half of the people in my house. I can knit them sitting next to them and they'll never know. They'll never have any idea. I literally sat next to him most of the time I was making these socks. And when he opened them, he said, "I don't think I've seen those." "I don't think I've seen you working on that." I was like, okay, that's good. It makes it much easier to surprise him. But he really likes these too. I'm very pleased with them, and he's worn them a lot already. So yay. I have one other finished object that is socks. This is a pair of socks for one of my daughters. I knit this in the Malibu Beach colorway by Candy Shop Yarns. I love everything Deborah does. But this is, you know, this is not really something that I wear. I don't think this is really my thing color-wise to wear, but I do really like the colorway, and this is 100% my daughter. So I knew right away when I saw this that this would be a great gift for her. I knit a gift for a friend several months ago in this same colorway, and I ordered a second skein to make that shawl I was making, to make that shawl just a little bit bigger, and then this was the plan for the rest of it. I still have a good bit of this skein left, so I can still knit with it more. But back to my kids, not all my kids notice, or not all the people in my house notice what I'm working on. Others do notice and ask questions, and so with some of them I have to, you know, keep their gifts kind of secret and only work on them when they're not home or when they're in bed, and then others of them I can work on them anytime. But my youngest son, one of the ones who notices, saw this and said, "Is that fur?" and named the sister, and then another sister said, "Who else would wear that?" Not in a "we don't like that" kind of way, but in a she is the only one who wears the loud, bright pinks and yellows and things. She is a very bubbly, kind of bright personality, so it was perfect for her. Anyway, this pattern, this pretty lace pattern, is a patron exclusive pattern from the Bakery Bears. I was a Patreon patron with them for a long time, a couple of years anyway, and really enjoyed those exclusive patterns. But I love the way this one knit up. I think it's just kind of perfect for her. So that's 3 whips. There are more, but like I said, I'd have to go back and look, and I just didn't have time to dig all that out today, so it is what it is. But I have one other, it's a finished object, but it's also kind of a whip, because I think I'm gonna, anyway, I'll tell you. But I knit this. Isn't that adorable? This is the Crosswalk Cowl by Margaret of Heidi and Lana. And the yarns are from Holly Press Fibers. It is a Narnia themed sock set. And I cannot remember the names right this minute, so I will put them on the screen. But I absolutely love this yarn. And all those speckles are so pretty. And that darker green is the perfect complement to it. This is very much my thing. And I love it. I loved knitting on it, but I don't know what I did wrong exactly, but I think that I probably just pulled this. It's got an I-cord edging all the way around, and I think it's just too tight because when I wear it, I really don't like the way it drapes. I think for the fabric that of the rest of the cowl, the I-cord is just too tight. So it just doesn't hang very well. Like, I can wear it, but I honestly haven't because it's very fussy to try to make it look right. So it's been sitting in my room for a couple of months. I hate to pull it out because I really like this drapey fabric that it created, but it just isn't working with that I-cord edge. So my problem, distracted. So my plan is that I'll probably just rip the whole thing out and make it again. It was a very, very nice, repetitive, almost mindless project. I love the look of the way the cowl is supposed to look. Somehow mine just didn't really match, and I'm sure that was a me problem. So I think I'm going to try it again. I have been working on socks a lot for kids' socks for Christmas and birthdays and things. So I haven't really dedicated the time to pulling this out and trying it again. But I really want this in my wardrobe, so that is my plan. Maybe by the next time I record, I will have at least pulled this out, like ripped it out and gotten it ready to knit again. But I just think it's so pretty. So definitely want to be able to wear it, so it's worth it to me to make it again. Oh, I have the yarn label here. So that is the Wayfarer, no, that's the base. It's the Wayfarer fingering yarn base, and the sock set is called the Lamppost. So, of course, I kept it in this adorable Narnia bag because that's perfect. It was such a fun project. I love all things Narnia, and you can't really find that many. I mean, there's a lot of Narnia stuff out there, but not a lot of Narnia knitting stuff. So that was really fun. And it will be fun again. I'm really not too sad. I mean, I wanted to wear it, and so I was very bummed at first, but I'm not sad about knitting it again because I would probably knit it again anyway for a gift. So I just get to knit it twice and keep it for myself. Okay, I think that is, let me see. Nope, somewhere I have another finished object. I have so many bags sitting here. Okay, this is, I'm gonna call it a finished object, even though I just now realized I never Kitchenered this toe. I was away from home and my needle disappeared, so my tapestry needle, so I still have to finish off this toe, but I have the other one finished, and I think it's so cute. This, I never can tell exactly how well it's showing up on the camera because it always looks a little different, but anyway, this is the Cafe au Lait pattern by This Handmade Life. I love her patterns. I haven't knit many of them, but I have several in my queue. I love her eye. I love pretty much everything she does, makes, designs. But I have had this particular pattern in mind for a long time, and because I have 6 children and a husband who love their hand knit socks, and so I knit a lot of socks, I'm just not always in the mood for a patterned sock because sometimes I get in that mode where I just need to crank them out. And then most of this year I haven't been in a sock mood. Summer sock camp kind of got me going again, and now I'm really, really into it again. But I've talked before about, so if you've been here long, you know this, but I have all 6 children and my husband. Their birthdays are all crammed into about 6 months. So, so trying to knit for all the birthdays, most of which are in the last half of the year, and Christmas, and then the birthdays that are not in the last half of the year are in the beginning few weeks of the year. So that's very heavily concentrated, trying to make sure everybody has birthday socks and Christmas socks. And then by the time the last pair of birthday socks for that birthday season is finished, I don't really pick up socks until summer sock camp. And then I crank out as many as I can during the summer to get ready for the upcoming birthdays and Christmas. So anyway, I'm not always in the mood for socks, but when I am, it's all socks all the time. But I've had this pattern in mind for this particular daughter for a long time. And I think it's kind of perfect. Oh, if you heard that thud, that was a kid throwing a baseball onto my roof, because, you know, that's what they do. I think he's trying to throw a ball over the house from the back to the front. Anyway. So I started to knit these for her birthday last year, and I ran out of yarn. And I never finished that pair, so I decided she's going to get them in a different yarn this year. So I think they're just so cute, and she likes a really shorty sock, so I've played around with different shorty patterns and types of shorty socks. This one's just a cuff going straight into from the cuff into the heel. There's no additional leg. I think that's how the pattern's written. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I just love it. The yarn is from Maker's Haven, and it was a Dobby sock set. And I don't know all the Harry Potter words. It's something about Dobby's socks, but I don't remember. And I'm not even sure if I could pronounce, I don't know what the word is. Whatever. It's a Dobby something or other colorway. I won this yarn in a giveaway from Amy of Noble Character Crafts back in the spring, I guess. She did a giveaway, one of her giveaways for her Make 9 knit along or make along from last year, and the sock set was 2 50-gram skeins that were coordinating but different, and then a 20-gram mini, and I just used one of the skeins for this pair, but I'll probably use the other one, which was more pink and purple and white, a little more variegated. I'll probably use that other colorway also for this daughter. I'm sorry, I'm distracted because now I can see the kid out the window. So that is, I mean, it's not technically a finished object, but it'll take me 2 minutes once I finish recording. I was going to do it before I hit the record button, and then I forgot. It is what it is. Okay. Next, I'll show you. This is kind of my biggest whip at the moment, but it has not gotten as much attention since I picked up all the socks again. This is my birthday shawl for this year. I always choose a birthday cast on something I want to make for me. It's not always a shawl, but something that I want to make for me, and I get it ready and cast it on my birthday. And so it's just a fun thing that I enjoy doing. This year, again, life has been crazy this year, and so I realized that I didn't actually have, in past years I've had it planned out, you know, yarns sitting in baskets, swatches made, needles ready weeks in advance. And this year I was winding the yarn the evening of my birthday. It's fine. But I have had these yarns for over a year and have been anxiously looking and waiting for just the right project. And so I really am excited with the way it has all started to come together. All these yarns are from So Happy Jane. So the blue is a single skein that is called Delphinium Blue, and the accent colors were a mini skein set. I think it was called Tiny Poppers. Anyway, there's this speckled kind of off-white with lots of pink and little bits of green and yellow, and then the orange and purple and green, and then the last one is this really pretty pastel pink. So I am really having fun with this. Like I said, it's kind of taken a back burner because it's all socks all the time right now. But you know, I like to pick this up and knit a row or two here and there, even if it's not getting lots of attention right now. You know, it would have been perfect to have finished it in the spring. Right now it's nearly 100 degrees every day, so I'm not really wearing shawls too much. But this will be lovely to wear next spring. And I'm keeping it in this Daisy Girl and Company bag, which I think is so cute. And the windows are always fun. Let me see, my next, okay, I have several more sock, well, maybe just 2 more sock whips. So I'll wait, show you this first, and then I'll get back to socks. I have a friend who I met when my first baby was less than a year old, and her first baby was, well, her third baby was tiny. So we have known each other for something like 16 years now, and she has had, I've had several more children, and she's had even more than I have. She has a house full. She just had her newest baby last week, I think. Time is funny. He was born very recently. And I am working on this Anchor's jacket for him. I'm making it big enough for him to wear, hopefully through the winter. I think I decided on the 6 to 9 month size. I have knit this pattern several times and I absolutely love it. It's always adorable. It's very quick and fun to knit up. It's not mindless, but it's pretty straightforward. So for me, that it's a good balance. It's because it's mostly stockinette. It's very good reading project. I read and knit at the same time a lot, so this is kind of perfect for that. And of course, who doesn't love that pretty ribbed yoke? I think it's so sweet. But one thing I really like about having knit it several times is that I print off my patterns. I don't really like knitting from a screen. I print off my patterns, and I have, you know, gone through and circled the size that I need, all the numbers for the size I'm making. And so this particular printout that I have worked from twice before, and I just circled I've made it in more than one size, at least 2 sizes. And so each size I've circled on the same copy, but in a different ink color. And so, you know, I've been thinking about the little boys that I've knit this for previously, who are bigger now. And it's nice to know exactly what needle size I need and everything. Like because I've knit it before, I think 3 times before, it's easy to just grab and go. You know, I don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out needle size and swatching and all of those things. I do believe in doing those things, but sometimes I just want to get started. And so when it's a project I have knit several times before, kind of like with socks, I don't have to think about all those details anymore. I can just get started. And I am a classic overthinker, so anytime that I can not get stuck in my own head trying to decide on all those details, that's always better. So I mean, the baby has already been born, and you know, in a perfect world, maybe it would have been nice to have had the gift there before he came, but he can't wear it yet anyway, so I'm not in a big hurry. I will get it to them in the next couple of weeks, but not a huge hurry. And so that's nice, low pressure. Let me see, I guess I have 2 more whips to share. and they are both socks. So I realized on Sunday, right before leaving for worship, that I hadn't kicked up yarn yet for my sock week socks. I didn't have time to do it then. I did dig through my stash really quickly and try to decide on something that I already had kicked up, but I didn't have time, and I didn't have the right things kicked up, and so this had to wait till later. But I love starting. I like participating in Sock Week, that's hosted by Knitty Natty. And in years past, because I get up before the rest of my family, I would get up and cast on and at least do that first row or two of the cuff before I made breakfast for everyone, and then I would take it and work on it in the car on the way to worship. This year I was behind, but that's okay. It's kind of the story of this year for me, I feel like. But anyway, I got home and figured out what to cast on, and today is Friday, and I have, again, all but Kitchenered the toe on my Sock Week sock. So this is really, y'all, I was gonna graft these toes before I hit record. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this pattern isn't gonna show up very well because I don't have my blockers here, but this is the A Twist on Stripy Socks pattern by my friend Dana Ray Makes on Instagram. I love her patterns. She writes them so well. They're very easy to follow, and they're always they're well written, and they're also just usually fun, simple patterns that are easy, enjoyable to make. This one just released this past weekend, so I think the day before I cast this on. So I'd been watching it in her stories, and I was excited for it to be released, and then it was kind of perfect timing that I wanted to knit that, and I wanted to work on a Sock Week sock. So the colorway, the yarn is Knit Picks Static, and this colorway is WJM, which I don't get that reference. I don't know what that is, but the yarn's cute. The same daughter who I knit the Malibu Beach socks for, the bright pink and variegated ones, all things pink for her. The other daughter who has the other pink sock isn't as much of all things pink kind of person, but this one is all pink all the time, and I think she's gonna love this. So I try to knit things that are, because her birthday is very close to Christmas, I try to knit things that are different from each other, because she's getting 2 pairs of socks really close together. So I try to make them, give them quite a bit of variation between the two, I guess. So while those are kind of pastel-y and sparkly and lacy, these are, a little more bright. Well, I mean, they're not, those are bright. I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're just a different look. Almost a little more casual, I guess. Those are a little fancy. I don't know. But I just knit this one for Sock Week, and I'll probably cast on the other one this evening. But now that I've got the actual Sock Week project done, and I'm not going to make the second one between now and the end of Sunday, this is going to be kind of my secondary project, because I have this other one that needs to be, wait a minute, I'm missing one. I'll have to go get it. This is not the one that I thought I had in my lap. This is another one that really should be finished, but it's not. My brain, y'all. Okay. I have one more to show you than I thought I did. This is almost a finished object. This is the first sock for another daughter. My daughters are a lot of fun to knit for because they like these cute girly colors and the little short legs, and the boys all like a 10-inch leg like my husband does, so they end up kind of being pushed till last. I don't know, why do we do that? We love knitting, we want to knit all the time, so why do we get impatient with knitting something that takes forever? I don't understand it, but I do kind of do it. Anywho, This is a Hermione's Everyday sock, which I have knit multiple times, and it's such a fun texture that's pretty much mindless and just adds a lot of interest to the project. This yarn is from Yarnaceous Fibers. This is the Duchess Dinos sock set, so it came in this pretty variegated, speckly really is a better way to say that, speckled colorway, and then it had two minis, a green and a brown. So for these socks I have knit the cuff in the brown and the toe in the green. The second sock is at the toe. I started the decreases this morning, and honestly I did plan to have this one finished. I planned to have this finished before I recorded. That was my goal for today, and I failed. I teach the ladies' Bible class at my congregation where I worship. We meet twice a month, and today was one of our regular study days, and I get there early to unlock the building and everything, and so I'll sit there and knit before we get started with class, and sometimes if it's a vanilla enough project I'll just knit as we study. It's very casual and they are all used to me, and so it's fine. So my plan was to take this with me and finish the toe before, during, after class while I was there with friends. And I grabbed the wrong bag, and I got there and didn't have this. Of course I had two projects with me because that's what you do. So I finished the toe on this, but didn't have my needle with me to graft the toe. So I was going to do this one, and instead I did this one. And so now this afternoon I'll put the toe on here. Oh, and here's my cute little bag. My husband and I love camping, and I mean love camping. When we had little kids and when I was pregnant, we had a camper. And then when we'd had our last baby and he was almost a year old, we decided to sell the camper and outfit ourselves with camping, like tent camping gear, because we wanted them to grow up camping. And in the last couple of years, our 6 children have become pretty much adult-sized people, and our 8-man tent is now really full. So my husband and I bought a small camper, and so when we go camping together as a family, the girls have one room of the big tent and the boys have the other room of the big tent, and we have a camper. And everybody's happy. Like, some people thought that seemed kind of weird that we would have air conditioning and a mattress for us but not the kids. We can't do a camper big enough for all of us. Like, we can't afford that, we can't pull that, that's not a thing we're gonna be doing. But they love it. They're happy because they want to still be in a tent, and we love the camper because it's a lot easier. So like for our couple trips for our anniversary this year, we went away in the camper. We've done that a couple of years now. It's a little bit easier to get away if we have a fully stocked house, teeny tiny little house, and we can just grab it and go. So I have, you know, we don't keep food out there, but we have a stocked kitchen, we have bedding, towels, things that belong to the camper. And that hopefully as time passes and the kids get older and you know, those things happen, it'll even be easier. But that's something that we've really been enjoying the last couple of years. And so I think it was for an occasion, the year that we bought the camper, the new camper, my husband got me this, and I think it's so cute. And I have a matching keychain that looks just like this camper. So this was when we went, I am just all over the place, y'all, but anyway, you're here for the ride. The beginning of this month was our anniversary. We got married 4th of July weekend 19 years ago. And we took our camper just a few hours, like 3 hours, 4 hours away from home, and spent a week just vegging and resting, and it was delightful. And I took socks. So I made the whole first sock of this pair, and then the whole first sock of the little shorty pink pair that I showed you. And then it's taken me a little more time to finish these two pairs because these two are some of the ones that notice everything I knit. So I feel like I just gave you a whole lot more information than you actually wanted there, but you know, I like it when people do that on the podcasts that I watch, so it's okay. Okay, so I have one more whip that I really want to show you, but I left it in the other room, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I ran to grab that other whip, and then while I was out there in the other room, I grabbed one more. There's just yarn everywhere. This is one more sock. This is for my middle son. His birthday is August 6th, which is like 10 days from now. So I really should have waited and cast this on for sock week and really focused on this week. But I had already started it, and then it was just going to be too much hassle to cast on the second one and put this one aside for sock week, so I got a head start on a different kid's birthday. But this is going to be what gets most of my attention for the next few days. I think it's so sweet. This is the Bunny Trail Socks by Elizabeth of Holly Press Fibers, and it's got this really cute little kind of zigzaggy design made with pearl bumps. Which I guess is, you know, little zigzaggy rabbit trails. That's what I think of anyway. And that's what it's called. So like little footprints or something. Kind of coincidentally, 2 years ago, I made the same son the Peter Rabbit socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. And he really liked those. And this time of year, I'm always kind of thinking about Beatrix Potter because her birthday is next week, and we always celebrate her birthday. She's one of my favorite artists and writers ever. So I don't know if this is a Peter Rabbit kind of inspired pattern or not, but that's what I've had in my brain as I've been working on it. And of course the blue and the gray kind of lends toward that too. So I don't know if it's Peter Rabbit or not, but that's what my brain just keeps going to. This yarn is a Knit Picks Hawthorne, maybe. I bought it bare and dyed it several years ago, and at the time I wanted to make a very vibrant yellow sock with blue heels and toes and cuffs, and so I did that, and I loved that pair of socks, but that only used a tiny bit of the blue. So I've had this sitting in my stash for a long time, but it wasn't quite enough to knit him a whole pair by itself. So it needed to be paired with something. And also I've gotten to where I prefer softer yarns. This one will wear really, really well. It'll definitely last him a long time if his feet will slow down with the growth. But it's not my favorite to knit anymore. I used to knit with it all the time, but I've just gotten more used to softer things. So it has just been sitting. And then I had this gray yarn that is a Quince & Co. But I can't even remember what the base is. If I remember to look it up, maybe I'll put it on the screen. But anyway, this is left over from a project that I made years ago. And I've been trying really hard this year not to buy yarn. Both to save money and also to use the beautiful stash that I have. But it's required a little bit of creativity for the boys. I'm running out of sock yarns that the boys would like. So I did order yarn for my youngest son's Christmas socks. It is what it is. But I've done really well working from stash. I have bought very, very little yarn this year, and I'm proud of me. Anyway, I'm rambling. So this is not something I had ever knit socks with. I knit a shawl with it years ago and had leftovers from it. And so I was just going through my drawer trying to find something that I could put together to be enough to make a pair of socks for him. And I really liked those colors together, and the bases are similar enough I mean, he'll never notice, but they don't feel vastly different. The cuff is maybe a little more coarse, but they're both kind of thicker yarns, and I think it's working really well together. So I still have a few inches to go on the leg, and then his foot isn't terribly long, close to my husband's size, but not terrible. So really, this is going to be what gets most of my attention the next few days, so that they're done in time for his birthday. I think he's really going to love them. He is the one who's most likely to kind of fade to the background in a lot of ways. And he doesn't really ask for things much, and he doesn't really, you know, he could get lost through the cracks if we weren't careful. He isn't one of those that's always like, hey, can you do this for me? Ever, really. But he really appreciates his hand knit socks. So it's fun. It's really nice to see how much he loves them. And he wears them at the very least every Sunday and every Wednesday to church. So I think he will really be happy with these. I did grab, as I mentioned, I grabbed one other thing to share while I was out getting those socks from the other room. It's been a long time since I've recorded, so it's been a long time since you've seen this, and I don't have any idea which squares you've seen and which are new. At one point, I thought, oh, I'll go back and look at my last episode and I'll mark all the new squares because there are a lot of new ones. And I didn't do that because it was just not a convenient thing to do. So you've seen a lot of this, but you haven't seen all of it. And I just love it. And I can't see. It's really hard to show this when you can't see the screen. So it has gotten, you know, a good bit bigger than when it started. I did start marking the squares that I knew were new, but you know, pretty sure this whole row past that is new, and I don't know, I just don't always remember to do it, and I'm not overly worried about it either, so it is what it is. But I really love this. It's not getting as much attention lately because of the socks, but I really love it. It's just like, what a great idea. It's like the knitter's version of a patchwork quilt. Since my last, I think my oldest daughter had already started one, but since the last time I recorded, my middle daughter has also started her own cozy memory blanket, and she has been digging through all of my scraps. And my rule for them is I don't mind them looking, I don't mind them using my scraps, but there are some leftover bits that I plan on using for something, and so they always have to ask before they can just, you know, they can't just take things. They have to get permission, make sure I wasn't planning on using it before they take all of it. But she has multiple times texted me when I've been away from home, or like one time when my husband and I were gone for our anniversary, she not only did she text me and ask if she could look through my stash, then she was sending me pictures. Can I use these? You know, but her blanket has grown really quickly because that's the only thing she's been working on, and it goes everywhere with her, and she's having so much fun with it. So that's been really neat to watch them working on the same kind of project. They all look different, all three of them. They all three have some of the same yarns in them because we've been passing our scraps around, but it is really fun to see them loving one of the things that I love and that we can share that. My other daughter is completely absorbed right now in knitting and crocheting a little bit. Toys, children's toys. We have a homeschool camp that we go to every autumn. That's a family camp for members of the Church of Christ who homeschool, and we do all kinds of things. You know, there's sports days and there's spelling bees, and there is a little building that is set up for vendors that any of the kids or parents can bring things that they've made. We have some that bring books they've written, all kinds of different things that that people can come and sell their wares to the others that are at the camp. And so she has been planning for months to have a table full of knitted pieces for that camp this autumn. So she's spending all of her time and attention and money on materials and making lots of beautiful little things. And she's very excited. I think this might be the first year she has done a table. The other girls have done one, but I'm not sure if she has. Or at least this is by far the most she's done for one. So she's really enjoying that, and that's been fun to watch too. I think that's really all that I've been working on steadily. I have, a few other things sitting around, but the socks are getting all the attention right now. As for things that have just been going on with us, it's nothing too awful, just been really busy. My dad and my grandparents have all three had some health things going on this year, and so I've been trying to help my mom make sure everybody gets to their appointments and help cover bases with that. But we, for most of my marriage, have lived very spread out in 3 different states, and so now to be all within about a 20-minute radius is pretty awesome. So, the health things are difficult sometimes, harder on them than me, obviously. But I'm glad that I'm nearby, that we live near each other and we can help each other. And they're not having to figure things out on their own far away from me, and I'm not having to figure out when to travel and be there and when to be here taking care of my own family. So I'm really glad that they moved here. Let me think. This year has been a heavy year for our homestead. We moved out here about 6 years ago, and we've had cattle and bees and goats and chickens and pigs, and some things we feel like we've really kind of hit our stride with, and some things not so much. But this year there's been a lot more loss of livestock than we've ever had by far. So that's been pretty heavy. We lost one of our mama cows this past week, and it's just always hard. They're not pets. It's not the same as the dogs that live inside the house, but it still is a heavy loss, and we're kind of tired of that part. But we are blessed that we haven't had a year like this until this year, so counting our blessings where we can. We still have many more than not, but it's been a heavy year for the homestead, so I'm hoping and I'm praying that things will kind of take a different turn pretty soon along those lines. My dog is sleeping here on the couch next to me, and she's been sleeping, and she's just kind of half awake now, and she thinks I'm talking to a person, and she always barks and carries on when people arrive. And so if you hear her talking at you, that's why. I'm just gonna try to wrap this up before she gets too upset, or maybe she'll just go back to sleep. It wasn't the last time I recorded, but it was when it was time to record again, and I started missing weeks. I had planned on recording an episode really quickly before we went out of town back in March, and we had piglets born that morning and we're busy with that, and so I didn't get to record that day. But we were headed on this road trip, and our family car had been acting up and giving us all kind of grief, and my husband had spent hours and hours and hours and hours working on the car, and that's a stressful situation. We only have one car that will hold all 8 of us, and when that car is not reliable, that's pretty limiting. And we were about to go on this trip out of state for over a week. Part of the time we were going to be in the mountains, so we really were feeling kind of stressed and stretched kind of thin about that, as he's trying all of his time was spent on researching or working on the car, the time when he wasn't at his full-time job. So we ended up in kind of a whirlwind situation. We bought a new to us used car from Carvana, and it was the craziest thing. We loaded up all of our stuff in our older car, and we drove an hour and a half away to the city where the car was going to be delivered, and we picked up the new car and we looked it over and made sure that it was as advertised, and then we parked our old car in a church parking lot where we had gotten permission to park it, and we moved all of our stuff from the old car to the new car, and then we went on our way in the new car. And then on our way home, we stopped and picked up the old car and took both cars home. So that was crazy, but it was really such a blessing to see the way all those details worked out almost seamlessly so that we could still go on our trip and still have a car that we felt confident in. You know, we weren't really planning on buying a car this year, but we are very thankful we have it and that we're not being stranded on the side of the road. So that's exciting. Along those lines, my oldest two kids got their driver's licenses on the same day a couple of weeks ago. They are both 16. They're about 5 weeks apart. We adopted some of our kids and gave birth to some of them, so their ages really overlap. But these two, just the way it worked out, they both got their licenses on the same day, minutes apart from each other. We sent one for her test and she came back and said she passed, and then my son went and took his test. So that was an exciting day. They are a little, you know, they're just teenager excited. They're just excited. I'm working on excited and feeling a little nervous as well. But they've done really well. They've both done helpful things like stop at the store. They've driven their siblings places. You know, we're taking it a little bit slow, but they've had a lot of practice. They're both over 16. They waited a few months even past when they turned 16. So now we're working on finding jobs and, you know, all those next level big kid things. It's crazy that we're here already. And because all their ages overlap, we're gonna have this story over and over and over for the next 4 years. So yeah, it's a lot. There is one more thing I wanted to mention before I wrap up, and that is my book clubs that I'm doing with the children. We are still enjoying those so much. We still are having tea once a week, and with the boys I read 2 to 3 chapters aloud and we talk about them a little bit here and there. But it's just with the younger ones who are a little more scattered, it's just easier to read it together than to assign the reading in addition to all the other things that I assign them. So that's still working for us right now. It's a little slower getting through books, but we're not in a hurry, so it's okay. But we are reading The Time Machine. We have just 3 chapters left, so we'll finish that with our next tea time, and that has been so much fun. I've never read H.G. Wells before, but I have really enjoyed it, and so now I want to go and see what what his other books are like. The girls and I are about to finish up Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, which has been so good. We read a set number of chapters, usually 5 chapters in a week, and then we talk about the reading at tea. So we're not reading together at tea like I do with the boys. All 4 of us want to keep reading. We don't want to put the book down at the end of our chapters for that week, but we keep saying that if we read more than 5 chapters, our tea time would be eternal. We would never be able to cover all the things we want to cover. There has been so much very rich material for conversation. This one being set in an ancient society with the systems of the Greek and the Roman gods is very different from the culture that I grew up in, that they are growing up in, very different from the belief system that we hold. So it's challenging their thinking and bringing new ideas that they have never thought of before. And if you're familiar with the book, you understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, it is a kind of a retelling of the story of Cupid and Psyche, and it is beautiful and heartbreaking, and it has just been so good for conversation with the girls. We were enjoying it so much. So I think we have 2 weeks left in that one, and so we're starting to talk about what we're going to read next. We don't have anything decided yet for the next book, but I always try to find inexpensive copies so that we can each have our own copy. It's easier to make sure we all get our reading in that way, but that can be a challenge. You know, I don't want to spend many dollars if I'm buying 4, so so we try to decide a couple of weeks out, and then I can kind of shop used websites and that kind of thing. But anyway, I highly recommend both of those books. They've been so good and so much fun for our book clubs, and that's one of the best ideas I think I've had as a parent. It has been so good for all of us. Not all of the tea times with the boys especially are seamless and harmonious. You know, boys are just different from girls. So while the girls are excited to make it pretty, and you know, they're really focusing on making it a nice, proper tea table, the boys don't care so much about those things. So I do try to use it as a way to teach some basic etiquette, but I also just want it to be kind of casual, so we can really just enjoy the time together over it being a certain way. I am a bit of a perfectionist, and so that's a little bit of a challenge, but you know, it's a good challenge. But we are really, really enjoying that. And the other day, well, it's been a few weeks now probably, but I said something to the children, kind of joking, that they all had to live nearby because then I need to be able to have these same book clubs with their children. And I understand that the likelihood of 6 kids growing up and living here is, you know, our family is scattered. I'm not actually holding them to that, but I joke with them that they can't move very far away. And my oldest son said, no, wait. I said that they need to all live close, and then they all need to come back to my house once a week, and we'll still have book club. And my oldest son said, no, what you need to do is have book club with our kids. And I was like, ooh. If he's saying that, that must mean that this is just as good for him as it is for me. I'm thrilled that they all love it like they do. I'm sure I could ramble about a whole lot more things, but I can see on the little countdown thing on my phone that I'm running out of space, and I'm also probably running out of quiet from my sons. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and I'm gonna hope that I don't have to do too much editing and get this uploaded soon. And like I said last time, I will try to record again in a couple of weeks, but you will see me when you see me. So thanks for coming along for the ride, however frequent it is, and I hope to hear from you and see you again soon. Bye.